Welcome to the Artist Academy podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Earhart, and I am so excited that you're here to catch the weekly replay of my laid-back yet very inspiring conversations with other full-time professional artists. The purpose of this series is to show aspiring artists that it is completely possible to have a great career in the arts. And if you ever want to tune in and have your questions answered in real time by myself or featured guests, then just check out the schedule over at facebook.com/groups/Artist Academy every Tuesday to catch us on live. I'll see you there. This episode is sponsored by the Artist Academy Advanced Membership, a program for artists who want to up-level their art game by taking it from a hobby or a side hustle to a full-time six-figure art business. With weekly trainings that include step-by-step proven art business techniques, plus painting tutorials from yours truly and other guest artists who are masters in their field, you will be well equipped to learn and grow into the highly skilled and highly profitable artist you know you're meant to be. I've figured out what it takes to build my own six-figure art business, and now my heart is set on teaching aspiring artists like you to do the same. It's not hard, but it does require your time and dedication. So if you're up for the challenge, go to advancedmember.com. That's advancedmember.com to learn more. Hello. So I have an idea. I'm going to record a few short podcasts with actionable tips or tips on how to better your life, better your sales, make you more money, basically something very short that I can explain to you in about 10, maybe 15 minutes. And these little short episodes will air every Thursday. Like today is Thursday. So this is the very first one that I'm going to do. And these are designed to basically maximize your time. I'm trying not to ramble as much as I do on the other ones. It's going to be less conversational and more to the point. And today's episode is all about my recommendations for you for other podcasts or books. Because I cannot tell you. So a lot of people will message me and be like, how are you so motivated? Oh my gosh, I feel like you're always doing stuff. And I'm just going to let you in on a secret. And my secret is I put someone that's very motivational in my ear, like as early as possible during the day. Okay? So just like you're listening to me right now and you're like, okay, like my mind is going, like I'm starting to think a little bit, and hopefully you're at the easel right now painting. I think a lot of artists who listen to this are. So just like you listening to me right now, you might get a little inspired by some of my podcast episodes. And who am I kidding? I hope you get really inspired by some of them. I do the same thing. So I listen to other people and I get so inspired hearing people doing things, achieving things. Because with me, it's if I know someone else who's doing it, if someone can just show me that it's possible, my mind says, okay, well, if they can do it, I can do it. I'm not the smartest, but I'm smart. I am not the most driven, but I'm driven. And I know that anything I set my mind to, I can do it. And so listening to other people who have accomplished things, whether it doesn't matter what it is, actually. Just hearing a lot of people who have accomplished things and just hearing them in my ear motivates me automatically. It's kind of like a form of meditation, sort of, only I'm getting it from an external source and not really an internal source. So I plug in my earphones just as soon as I can during the day, because when I wake up, I am not motivated. I'm just going to tell you, I'm not a morning person. I'm actually recording this right now at 9 o'clock at night. True story. It says 9:05 p.m. on my computer right now, because I'm just giving in to that temptation of I'm just a night owl. I'm a night owl painter and not so much in the morning. However, the sooner I can get something motivational in my ears in the morning, the better the day goes. And so I'm going to share with you the things that I put into my ears in hopes that you resonate with it and in hopes that it makes you motivated as well to paint or to reach out to people or to whatever you have to do in your daily life. Okay, so I'm going to start with some of my favorite books, and some of these books I've listened to twice. I am an Audible whore, and I say that kindly, but my Audible is full of books that, I mean, just business books or stuff about art, and just anyway, I'm going to share with you a lot of my favorites that I've found from Audible. I've had a lot that aren't on this list that are not that good. I mean, personally, I think, but these are some of my top ones. And I'm going to start with the mother of all art, money, success, licensing, everything. And if you've read Art, Money, Success, then you already know who Maria Brophy is. I actually interviewed her on the podcast several episodes back. If you want to just search for Maria Brophy, she is one of my idols. She wrote a book called Art, Money, Success, and it's art, money, and success, and it tells a series of different ways to go about running your art business and just kind of honing in on what you want to do, what you're passionate about, how you want to sell to people, how to sell to people, how to not get ripped off, how to license, just all the things. And she's just such a wealth of knowledge. And by the way, all of these will be referenced, all of these will be listed out in the podcast notes. So whenever you are listening to this, just click on this episode and go to details, and it will have a list of all of it, and just screenshot it. That way you'll have it for later, because I know not a lot of you will take all of these and search for them right now. So just screenshot it real quick. That way you have all of these. And yeah, so Art, Money, Success is just number one. So I had to mention that one first because it's my all-time favorite art book. I've listened to it twice, maybe 3 times, I don't know, but it's just so easy to get lost in Maria's voice, and because she's so direct and informative, and she tells stories as well, and it's anybody who's running an art business should learn from her. So I don't mind shouting her out on this because she's great. Like we've emailed a couple times even too, which is just, I feel like I'm emailing a celebrity. And yeah, she's just an all around great person from what I've seen so far. Okay, so Art, Money, Success by Maria Brophy. And then I'm going to go into my second favorite art book, which is Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. So if you've seen the movie Eat, Pray, Love, that's Elizabeth Gilbert. She wrote that book, and the movie is based off of the book. And also, I'm just going to put a little plug into there. Also, her book, Eat, Pray, Love, and her book, Committed, is very great. And really, I downloaded those on Audible as well because I just love hearing her voice. It's something about the voice of Elizabeth Gilbert. I mean, she's full of great tips and just inspirational words and all the things in her book, Big Magic, but she just thinks about art in a different way than most, and just listening to her voice, it's just so soothing and calming, and you just feel so relaxed. And isn't that what we all want to feel when we're painting, when we're trying to figure out how to make something look 3D? But having Elizabeth Gilbert's voice in my head, it just makes me relaxed and soothed, and like I hope my voice does for you, I guess. But I guess my voice probably makes you feel a little bit more, maybe hopefully inspired or amped up. Elizabeth Gilbert's voice is just very calm and nice. But you shouldn't just listen to her book or read her book because of her voice. Big Magic, so she's a writer, right? So it's a different art form. So it's not directly painting, which is actually kind of nice, like we follow a lot of artists on Instagram and stuff, and so we're always seeing an influence of other artists, and I think it's really important to also have an influence of people in different fields who are doing similar things, so an artist is a great example of that. So she's a writer, and she started out her writing career writing and having a side job, and she actually produced several books and all of that, all while having a side job. And so I think that's really relatable to a lot of us as well. And she actually did not quit her side job until she wrote Eat, Pray, Love, until that one went big time. how crazy, you know? And just, she talks about her journey with Eat, Pray, Love, and just the whole thing, and just how you shouldn't put a lot of pressure on your art, and how you should let it just manifest and form on its own while still working at it, but just not put so much pressure on your art. And I know a lot of people are like, well, I have to make money, and trust me, I totally get that. Her view on painting, or on art, and in our perspective, painting, you'll just have to read the book, because she's just such an intellect, and it's just so great. I cannot say enough nice things. I've actually also listened to that book twice while painting. Okay, to the next book. It's called Art Inc., The Essential Guide for Building Your Career as an Artist, by Lisa Congdon. And I hope I'm saying that right. And Lisa is basically another Maria Brophy, is kind of how I like to describe her. And I mean, sort of, right? But they all have their differences. But this is a really good book for just the fundamentals of art. And I know that a lot of people can't listen to this book all the way through. They'll listen to like a chapter, and then they'll listen to something that they like, and then they'll listen to a chapter, then they'll listen to something they like. It's really informative, which is stuff that I really like. Like, talk about art business all day. It's like talking dirty to me. But this book, it's very business-like. It's like, okay, if you want to get in a gallery, this is how you do it. If you want to reach your customer in this certain way, this is how you do it. If you want to get into licensing, this is how you do it. Like, it's just very like, to get to step A, if you do step A and step B, you'll get to step C. It's not really like super inspiring, or like there's not a whole lot of stories in it, but it is very informational, and I think a lot of people should listen to it, or at least listen to a couple chapters on it. I even picked up a couple things from it, and I've been a full-time working artist for years, and I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. So yeah, Art Inc., The Essential Guide for Building Your Art Career as an Artist, by Lisa Congdon. Okay. Now I'm gonna list one book that completely changed the way I viewed business and everything. It was one of the first books. So I actually don't read a whole lot of books, like physically read, and this book was, someone gave it to me, or someone said I should read it, or I saw a post that someone was reading it or something, and so I bought the book on Amazon. I had it shipped to me, and I actually read it on the plane from Vancouver, Canada to the Philippines. So I was working and painting in Vancouver, and I was like, heck with this, I need to take a 2-week vacation. So I bought a ticket to the Philippines with a friend, and we went, and the whole time basically I read this book and was taking notes, and it just blew my mind as to what is possible in the world. So the 4-Hour Workweek, Tim Ferriss, he's one of the smartest guys that I've had the privilege of listening to in my earbuds. I read the book, and then I downloaded it on Audible as well to listen to it later on when I was painting, just to get a refresher. Because a lot of these books, you listen to it once, and then you kind of forget about it after a while, and so listening to it again is just a refresher. Plus, if you re-listen to things after a year, you're gonna listen to it in a different perspective slightly than the year before, because you've learned more. Okay, so the 4-Hour Workweek, it's basically a story of how Tim Ferriss, he founded a product, and he outsourced a lot of things into where it didn't start out like that. So he started out working a ton and making a ton of money, but working a ton, like 24/7 almost. And so he was like, heck with this, like, I need to outsource. So he hired a virtual assistant, much like he was an influence in hiring my virtual assistant, Adriana, who is editing this podcast. Hey! And so he was an influence in me getting a virtual assistant, because he highlights, like, there are things that you can do, and then there are things that you can teach other people to do for a fraction of the cost. And there's just so many, just the way he views life. He explains how you can move to Colombia and work remotely, and the cost of living there is a fraction of what it is in New York City, obviously, and you can make the exact same amount of money but live around in different countries, and that's exactly what he did. And so it's just a really good book on how to live life, but own a business, but work as little amount as possible. Hence the 4-hour work week. Okay, so another one on here. Okay, so I also want to mention The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg, something like that. Okay, I'm really bad with last names, and I'm super patient with last names as well, because nobody can pronounce mine. It's Earhart, but everybody pronounces it so crazy. But I really don't mind. So, The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. And this book, it really just is a deep dive into our habits and how they make up our daily lives. And there's so much that we do that's a habit. For instance, I think I've used this on the podcast before, but the way you get out of the shower, you dry yourself off on the exact same routine every single time. Crazy. And so if we can just get more habits like that to where they're productive habits, you can transform your life with just a few consistent, intentional habit-forming exercises. Okay, so I'm just going to that's not my favorite book on there. I mean, a lot of the others that I just mentioned, I'm actually going from favorite to least favorite, kind of. And so that's not one of my favorites. Well, it is. It's a really good book to know and to understand your habits. And it's just a really good book. Okay, The Power of Habit. Another one, Millionaire Success Habits. This is another habit book by Dean Graziosi. So this one, if you don't want to be a millionaire, you might just skip over this one. And not to say that I want to be a millionaire. However, I do want to make a lot of money in my lifetime and to make my life easier. And I want to live the way I want to live with a ton of experiences. And I just don't want to have to worry about money anymore. So that's why this book really took, I really like it. It talks about if you want to make money, you need to have the habits that go into it. And Millionaire Success Habits, he breaks it down really simply, and yeah, it's just a good productivity book. Okay, another one, #GirlBoss is what it's called. It's really called #GirlBoss by Sophia Amoruso. And this is one of the first ever Audible books. Actually, this is the first ever Audible book that I ever downloaded, just because so many people were talking about it. And it's about Sophia Amoruso, something like that. And it talks about her starting a business selling clothes on eBay, and now it's a multi-million-dollar company. And just talks about how customer service and having a really good product, and which are things that we can all relate to. It talks about how that is so important, and that how that helped her grow and scale. And it's just a really good book. Okay. The book Finish by Jon Acuff. If you have a hard time finishing things, I think it's called Finish, Give Yourself the Power of Done by Jon Acuff. It's just a really good book on how to finish things. And so if you're having problems, if you have a lot of unfinished paintings everywhere, finish them by listening to this book. That's basically really self-explanatory. Okay, another one, The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. If you haven't read The Alchemist yet, it is amazing. It's a story form, and about a shepherd, and he goes on a journey. I actually haven't listened to this one in a while, so I'm like, what is it about again? But I listened to it twice. Once 3 years ago, and then once 2 years ago, and actually it takes place in Northern Africa, and I actually listened to it while I was in Morocco, which is Northern Africa. So that was really cool. So I listened to it as I was in this very similar area as the book was taking place. So that was just a really cool experience. But I mean, even if you're not in Northern Africa, you should listen to this book, because it's kind of spiritual in a way, but you kind of connect the dots yourself. It's just The Alchemist. I'm sure you've heard about it. Everybody's heard about it. It was one of the most downloaded books ever. And so yeah, The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. Okay. Also, just one that's just kind of a for fun read, and I wasn't even sure if I should list this one because it's not really for productivity or art, but it's the book Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, and I don't really care what you think about Nike. I don't really have an opinion, but the book itself is really great, and it's one of those books where it was over halfway over, and I was like, no, I don't want it to end, you know? And it's just the way he tells a story. So Phil Knight, the CEO of Nike, so he created Nike back in the day, and it's so cool that it tells about his story, about how he had to go over to Japan. Like, they didn't have a telephone, they had letters, and like if you wanted a meeting, you had to go fly over to Japan and have a meeting with these Japanese producers to talk about creating a shoe product. And it's just so cool just to hear his take on how he built his business, and it's so inspiring just to see like the hoops that he had to jump through to do it, and it makes you really appreciate nowadays when we can just send a quick email and we get answers. Okay. Also, I'm just going to mention this one too. It's on Audible. It's called 200 Mini Meditations for Instant Manifestation by Sarah Prout. I am just starting to get into the whole meditation thing. This was a really good introductory for me. It's a book, and she tells a lot of stories with it, and it's just a lot about like welcoming love and productivity and just everything and stuff into your life, and saying like, okay, the things that are happening to me are happening for me. And it's just nice to have a really positive outlook on things, and Sarah Prout really has that positive outlook. So 200 Mini Meditations for Instant Manifestation. If you want to have a first look into the whole meditation thing, I highly encourage this one. Okay, that's 20 minutes in, and I'm trying not to talk so much, but I'm also trying to give you some information. Okay, those are my favorite books. I hope you download them and listen to them on Audible while you're painting, or read them before bed, but really listen to them on Audible instead of listening to music. It is amazing. Okay, now I'm going to give you my favorite podcasts. Woo! One is The Savvy Painter by Antrese Wood. She interviews some amazing artists. I'm going to go through these a little bit quicker. Again, you can just screenshot these in the notes and subscribe to them and listen to them later if you want to. So, Savvy Painter by Antrese Wood. So this next one, I really love it. It's called the BossBabe podcast by Natalie, Ellis, and Danielle Canty. If you are a woman, and some men, sorry men, but if you're a woman who is really driven to build a business and achieve everything you ever wanted in life and be unapologetically ambitious, and if you're struggling with being that, but you know you want that, I highly recommend the BossBabe podcast. I really love them because I can relate to them. They are about my age, they are giggly, fun girls, and I just see myself in them so much. So if you like this podcast and you want a little bit more stuff that is on business more so, and they do a little bit of like health and wellness and stuff like that too, but I highly recommend that one. Okay, another one is The Goal Digger. The Goal, it's not gold, it's goal, like you have big goals in life. The Goal Digger by Jenna Kutcher. She interviews amazing, mostly women entrepreneurs, and they tell their stories about how they built their businesses, and it is so inspiring. I love it. I go back, she has like 300 and some episodes, so go back to the very beginning. Those have some of the best ones, I think. Okay, I really love the Online Marketing Made Easy podcast by Amy Porterfield. This is really interesting. She takes a marketing approach to selling online, obviously Online Marketing Made Easy, and I actually bought a course from her at the beginning of last year, so just about a year ago, and she helped teach me how to market online and how to teach you how to do some lessons and painting lessons and stuff like that, to where what I'm teaching you is actually sticking in your brain and you're going to use it and stuff like that. So she's a big reason of why I started the Artist Academy, was Amy Porterfield. The next one is the Tim Ferriss Show. So that guy that had the 4-Hour Workweek book, he has a podcast as well, and he interviews some just people who are top of their fields. It's just one of the most intelligent podcasts I've ever listened to. And he interviews people who, like I said, just are top of their fields and talks about their habits and their morning routines and what they do and why they're successful and what they're doing. And it's so cool to hear people who are further along than you in your ear. Okay, another one is How I Built This with Guy Raz from NPR. I actually just realized that this is on Apple Podcasts, and I do not have to go to the NPR app to listen to this, but How I Built This by Guy Raz. And they have the founders of like Ben & Jerry's or Spanx and just companies like that. And it talks about how they built their company. And I find that so fascinating. So I'm just going to leave it at that. And if you want to go listen to that, you can totally do that. Another one along those lines is Oprah's Masterclass. And that takes super famous people like Justin Timberlake and just a bunch of people, Oprah, and it talks about how they built their careers, which is also kind of in line with How I Built This with Guy Raz, only they talk about life more so and just how they came to be a famous actor, singer, and whatnot. Okay, that is it. So go screenshot these. And okay, so I'm going to listen one more. That's not it. And I'm looking at this last one on the list, and I'm like, do I say this one? Okay, so when you're done listening about art and when you're done listening about inspiring people and you just can't take any more business stuff during the day, this is what I do. When I'm up late painting and I just need to listen to something stupid that makes me laugh, I listen to the Call Her Daddy by Barstool Sports podcast. It's two girls who are it's kind of dumb, but they're hilarious. And they remind me of my college days. And they give advice about relationships that is very crude, and if you get offended by it, don't come back to me and tell me, I don't care. But if don't listen, then just turn it off. However, on the chance that someone will like this, I'm going to put it on there. They tell it how it is, and so if you get offended, just don't. Like, if you have a sense of humor and you like to talk about boys or relationship advice and all of that, then listen to the Call Her Daddy podcast by Barstool Sports. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about that one because it's pretty inappropriate. Okay, that's it. Okay, and that wraps up our short episode. Man, I'm trying to get it under 30 minutes. I really thought I could maybe do 10 minutes or 15. Okay, to keep it under 30 minutes, I hope you like this. Just to circle back around, it helps to put something motivational in my ears when I start the day. So I hope this helps you by buying a book or downloading a podcast and all of that. It really helps me, and so I really think it could help you as well. So also, if you want to rate the podcast that you're listening to right now, The Artist Academy, this one, and if this podcast has helped you at all, it would really help me if you rated it and reviewed it. So just be like 5 stars. Obviously, if you hate it, don't review it. And so rate it, and then if you send me a screenshot of that review, I will shout you out on my Instagram of over 50,000. So I'll put your art on my Instagram story for all of my followers to see, in hopes that it's a little help me help you incentive for helping me out and helping to spread the word about the Artist Academy and teach aspiring artists and all of that. Okay. Also, right now it's January. The Artist Academy Advanced is currently open. You can go to advancedmember.com to apply, and I will look at your application in the next 48 hours after your application has been in. If you want to up-level your art game in 2020 and come right along with us inside the Artist Academy, who are making sales and taking names. Okay. All right. I'm going to get off here. Thank you so much for listening. I truly appreciate it. I hope you have a really great week. This episode is sponsored by the Artist Academy Advanced Membership, a program for artists who want to up-level their art game by taking it from a hobby or a side hustle to a full-time 6-figure art business. with weekly trainings that include step-by-step proven art business techniques, plus painting tutorials from yours truly and other guest artists who are masters in their field. You will be well equipped to learn and grow into the highly skilled and highly profitable artist you know you're meant to be. I've figured out what it takes to build my own six-figure art business, and now my heart is set on teaching aspiring artists like you to do the same. It's not hard, but it does require your time and dedication. So if you're up for the challenge, go to advancedmember.com. That's advancedmember.com to learn more. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. If you review our podcast and send a screenshot of that review to me on Instagram, I am at Art by Andrea Earhart. I will then promote your art on my story and tag you as a little thank you for helping me grow this podcast and our Artist Academy community. I have a reach of over 50,000 on Instagram, so this is a little help me to help you incentive. Also, if you ever want your questions answered in real time by myself or featured guests, then just hop on over to facebook.com/groups/Artist Academy to check out the schedule every Tuesday to catch us on live. I'll see you next week.